about this, and I
You're
called
live, you're
him.
rolling, start
Okay,
whenever.
okay, we'll start in 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Hello, folks. Kent Hovind here with my longtime friend Brady Byrum from Dallas, Texas.
Yep.
Amen. It is June 15th, 2019. We have boot camp yesterday, today, tomorrow. It's going great here, and you came all the way over from Texas to come to our boot camp. And we thought we'd do just a 5 or 10 minute interview here on. You did the series of videos, Kent Hovind is innocent. The atheists are always saying things on the internet, like Kent Hovind's a lawbreaker, he broke some tax laws, and you studied my case intently. Tell them what you do, how long you worked on this, and did I break any laws?
Well, let's see. I first learned about you being arrested shortly after it happened.
It would have been 04.
04, and
Yeah.
I volunteered my services and was rejected.
By the lawyers?
No, by Eric.
Ah, okay.
He declined, and you had already had lawyers by that time, and so I had to just wait till I had the opportunity to talk with you, and that was the first chance I was able to get was when you came to Dallas, and after you got out, and so we that's when I got a hold of a copy of your indictment, and I did my forensic analysis on that indictment and found that you had committed no crimes, not a
So
single one.
you do paralegal work, you say forensic analysis. You looked at the case and said, okay, what do you next here, brother? No, let's get this one done. Okay, so you looked at my case, went through it very thoroughly. You actually came and lived here for 6 months and read every document. And did I break any tax laws to go to prison?
Not a single one.
And the video series, KentHovindIsInnocent.com, covers all that in great detail.
Yes.
So they're saying, the skeptics who know nothing about it are saying, oh, Hovind's a tax cheat, a fraud.
Yeah.
Did I cheat the government out of anything?
No, you did not.
Okay. Was I guilty of any crime to go to jail for?
Not a single one.
Okay. Well, they took me anyway.
Yep.
Okay. How many laws did the government break to put me in prison?
I keep losing count. I've tried several times to count, but it's several hundred.
Several hundred laws they broke to put me in prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what can I do now? You said one of the options, there's many options can be done. One is have a presidential pardon.
Yep.
Okay. And I want to pursue that route. But you have to wait 5 years.
No, I think it's 3 years after you get out, and it should be coming up in about, what, 8 or 9
Oh, I'm
months?
done with 3 years. I've been out for 3.5 years already.
Okay. Is it 3 or 5?
I got out in 2015. So
It may be 5. I'll have to double
Okay.
check. But here soon, you should be. There's the opportunity or the window to file before the standard time limit that they want. Basically, what a presidential pardon, they want to know if you're going to be a model citizen after you get out you're out on parole. They don't call it parole anymore; they call it probation, but it's basically parole. And so once you've lived a certain number of years with no more charges, then you're better qualified for receiving a pardon. And so that window is going to be coming up pretty soon. And so the people, what I'm really wanting for all of y'all to do is to please go to my website, KentHovindIsInnocent.com. And believe me, the law is dry, it's lengthy, but I covered every single detail of the 58 counts against him. And at minimum, please watch video number 3. If you really want something that's pretty easy to understand, I think the easiest would be video 3 to understand. And so once you do that, please write a letter to President Trump, either a snail mail letter, but more preferably would be an email, whitehouse.gov. At least do that, because if you would request for President Trump to give Kent Hovind a pardon, then by the time that he does apply, then he's going to have X number of hundreds, hopefully thousands of people who have contacted him, and hopefully he would be more receptive in doing so.
Okay.
That's
So
the
even
goal.
if they've already written saying, look into Kent Hovind's case, they could write again?
I don't know that they would. I don't know if it would be appropriate or inappropriate to write more than one letter, but definitely one. I mean, if
okay.
everybody you've got well over 100,000 subscribers, and there's probably only a few of those who are antagonists, just so they can keep up with you.
Sure.
So all of the people who are subscribers,
Supporters,
please,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know of anybody who would, let's say, have 50 or 100,000 people emailing the president, but it on one topic, that would be fantastic if y'all would do that.
Well, they already investigated what the IRS did over the stupid structuring law, and they went back to, I think, 2012 and
Yes.
overturned all those. Well, let's go back to 2006. Mine's the
Right.
same stuff.
That's right.
Go
It's the
back 6
same-
more years.
That's right.
So tell President Trump, please, look into this case and grant a pardon.
Yes.
What does that do for me?
Well, I believe it would put you in a place where you would be able to file a suit for damages at that point.
They certainly damaged me. Gee whiz. Put me in prison for nearly 9 years. Okay, good. KentHovind.com. Write to President Trump or email President Trump and say, look, I've looked over Kent Hovind's case, if you read these things, and say, would you please grant a presidential pardon? This is one way to do this.
One more thing, on my website, we've now added in a model letter. If you do want to actually mail in a letter, you got to understand, an actual physical paper letter won't ever go to the president. But what they do is they'll scan it, and he'll still get an electronic version of it.
Okay,
So
thank you, Brady. You've been a great blessing.
you've been a blessing to me.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. All right, I keep it rolling here now. Still going?
Yeah.
Okay. Paul? You've been visiting here for, what, 5 months? This is a totally different topic. Well, same topic, different approach, okay? Paul, you've known about my case with the IRS for how long?
2006.
2006.
I was notified.
And you are one of the trustees of the original CSE Ministry Trust in Pensacola. And one of the things you are doing that I am not involved in, but I am encouraging you to do so, I hope you do it, as a trustee, you have a fiduciary responsibility to try to recover the assets that are missing from the trust. So, do you want to talk about that, or is that just, it's all public?
Yes, and the assets were taken by a number of people. Of course, the United States agents took some assets illegally without the support of law. Eric took some assets that had no right to. So we're focusing on both of those.
And the atheists are having a heyday saying Hovind is suing his son. I'm not suing my son.
No.
I'm not a trustee. I have nothing to do with
Matter
it.
of fact, if the consensus of the trustees that I worked with in the past, they agreed that even if Kent didn't want us to go after Eric, we have an obligation to do so. We have an obligation to do so as trustees, because the original trust, we were entrusted with specific assets, and allowing people to take those assets away from us is a violation of our trust. So just because a father might want something else done, like David wanted favor toward Absalom, that doesn't mean the trustees have to agree with him.
Right. Okay, that's one topic. Totally unrelated to that is, you think you could get my case overturned in a different way than what Brady's doing. What do you recommend we do there?
It has similarities to Brady's. He has looked at, as well as I, that they claim that you're guilty of structuring. Okay, you cannot be guilty of structuring unless there's an accompanying crime. For example, if you did a crime, and let's just say that you used a gun also. Having the gun alone isn't a crime. Now, if you did a crime and had the gun, see, then the gun becomes an issue. The gun by itself is not a crime. Same way with structuring. Let's say you did the same activity, went in there and you withdrew $9,500 every time instead of the flagging $10,000 that we thought. That alone, even if you did it, is not a crime. Now what they're hanging on, that they claim that you did a crime, they convinced the jury that you did a crime by not withholding taxes. So we don't have to focus on the structuring. If we collapse the withholding the taxes part, the structuring is not an issue. Okay, you have a right to have that gun, you have a right to do those transactions that exact same way. It's not an issue. Okay, so what we're going to do is, we've already started a process of writing the IRS. What I did is I wrote the IRS, and I did the exact same scenario that Kent was doing before 2006. I told the IRS that I was going to do this and this at this location with this many workers in a ministry. It's not a 501c3. We do not, nor do I have an EIN number. And I'm asking the IRS, do I have a legal obligation to withhold? They refuse to respond. They have a legal duty to respond.
How long has that been?
That's been 3 months probably.
Okay.
So that's ripe now. So we can take that in evidence and show that they don't have any, that they're not being forthwith. No, what do you call that?
Forthright.
Forthright, yeah. So now what we can do is we can actually put Scott, what's his name, Schneider? We can put Scott Schneider in the witness stand, and we can ask him, what did you rely upon that Kent had a duty to withhold? Now, this is what Kent's attorney should have done when he was prosecuted.
Right.
What year was that?
6.
2006. His attorney, you paid him over $100,000 to simply get into the court record if he had a legal duty to withhold. That attorney completely failed intentionally, which is a moral degradation.
He sold me out.
He sold you out.
Alan Ritchie from Port Arthur, Washington, sold me out, brother.
We're going to ask
Don't hire him for nothing.
We're going to ask a court, a group of men, Americans, to make a determination if he's liable for damages. And we're going to ask the court, those same 12 men on a jury, if Kent should be awarded damages from that man. Now, the same way with Scott Schneider, the IRS agent. He has a legal duty to understand the law that he's enforcing.
Sure, yeah.
We're going to put him on the witness stand. Say, what did you rely upon that Kent had a legal duty to withhold? There is no such thing as Kent having a legal duty to withhold.
Well, for many reasons, but one is I did not have an EIN.
Yeah, and all relationships with the United States are contractual. You cannot have a relationship with the United States without contract. If you walk on United States land, it's a form of a contract. If you seek benefits and services from them, it's a contract. If you fill out one of their forms, an EIN form, Employer's Identification Number Request Form, that's a contract.
We didn't have one.
You didn't have one. You didn't have one, neither did the ministry, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay. Now, if you had one, that would change things potentially, but not for sure. But he didn't have one, so we don't have to go down that road. The government cannot make Kent or that particular ministry have an EIN number because that particular ministry was not formulated, was not created under any permission of the United States. It was independent of the United States. Now the Creation Science Evangelism Inc., I think it's called, is a organization that submitted forms to the United States and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Which
different.
is different.
That's
Very
different. And the only reason they did that is because they don't want, they're trying to prevent anything like what happened in the past again.
Right.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with the original Creation Science Evangelism that was completely independent of the United States, didn't do any business on their land, didn't do any business through any benefits or services of the United States, didn't do anything under license of the United States, had no legal nexus with the United States. Zero. No contract. Remember I said there's the only way you can associate with the United States is by contract. Okay? When you go to court and you raise your right hand, you swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, it's a contract. Every relationship with the United States is a contract. The military draft is a contract. These, everything you think of with the United States is a contract. Okay, guess what? They can't make this guy sitting to my right contract with them. No more than I can make you contract with me, right?
Right. I don't want a contract. I just want to be left alone. I was just preaching the gospel.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
If I stood in front of 12 people on a jury and said, he's got a contract with me, they're going to look at me like, what are you talking about?
Or show me the contract.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, or show me the premise in God's word or in United States written law that he has to contract with me. It doesn't exist. And the United States is based on the biblical principles that him and I are independent. The only duty we have with each other is to love each other. We don't have to have a contract I don't have to contract with him, or he doesn't have to contract me, nor did Kent have to. So the United States could not turn to the United States and say, you had a legal duty to get an EIN number. They can't do that. And as a matter of fact, they didn't do it. Go ahead.
Right. To summarize, I did not have a contract with them. I did not have any obligation. I would have broken the law if I had withheld taxes.
Exactly. That was the next phase I was going to go in.
So the atheists all over the website are saying, Hovind broke the law, he stole money from the guy. I didn't steal anything from anybody.
Every form that you see with the government, you must be qualified to fill out that form. Be it a motor vehicle driver's license form, may it be a social security form, may it be an EIN number. You have to qualify to be able to fill that form out. Okay, he doesn't qualify. Because one thing, you weren't doing business on government land, you weren't doing business under a United States contract, and you never elected to become a U.S. citizen. Now, people are going to raise their eyebrows. What do you mean, never elected to be a United States citizen? The American people do not study law. Lawyers do not study law. There's only one way you can become a United States citizen. There's many ways to contract with the United States. United States citizen is only one contract. There's only one way to become a United States citizen. You've got to stand in front of a judge that is authorized to give you the opportunity to be sworn in as a United States citizen. Have you ever stood in front of a United States judge where he asked you to raise your right hand and take the United States citizenship oath?
I've never done that.
Okay. That's the only way you can become a U.S. citizen. Every American watching this, it's the same with you, too. You cannot be legally a U.S. citizen unless you did that. You can be treated like a United States citizen for many reasons. Go on their land is one simple example. If you walk on their land, you can be treated like a United States citizen, but you're not a United States citizen. Okay, the United States written law says there's only one way to become a United States citizen. Now, they don't have that nexus either as being a United States citizen. The reason I'm bringing that up is they don't have anything. Now, when he was in court this last time, I explained to Kent, I said, they're going to try to get on the record out of your mouth that you're a U.S. citizen. Guess what? They tried, right?
Yep. I didn't say a word in court, didn't testify anything.
I'm talking about this second time.
Oh, yeah, they did try that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And I told Kent, I said, they're going to try to get you to say that you're a U.S. citizen because it gives them a nexus to prosecute you. Kent's looking at me like, I'm not a U.S. citizen? And I explained to him, and Kent says, well, that makes sense. And, you know, you probably had a lot of questions like, what's this all about? And guess
It's strange. Everybody thinks, well, of course I'm a U.S. citizen, you know? But
Yeah.
You're not. Yeah.
No, you're an American.
It's different.
American's far above a U.S. citizen.
Right.
American is of right. U.S. citizen is of privilege. Okay, so he's sitting in the witness stand, and I was sitting there listening to it, and the prosecutor, who is never nice to him at any other time, says with a smile on her face, "Kent, where'd your family? Where were you raised? Where'd you go to school? Did you enjoy growing up in such and such city? What'd your dad do for a living? You're a U.S. citizen, aren't you? Aren't you, Kent?" Let me turn that off. And there was silence in the room. Kent's looking down. There was not much silence in the room because Kent likes to talk. Okay, there was silence in the room because I told Kent, I said, don't answer any question until you know the answer in your head. So he waited about 15 seconds and then he said, I've been in jail for 9 years. And one thing I learned is words in a U.S. court are very important. And he says, I have no evidence in my possession I've ever elected to become a United States citizen. And that prosecutor's jaw dropped.
Yeah.
Her countenance is like, oh no, this is not good. And guess what? Kent and I, as co-defendants, were the only people to win a case in the Northern District of Florida for at least 9 years. No one that went to trial ever won one case. Could be 20 years, but we know it's at least 9 years because there's a guy that worked there. He walked up to us when we were walking out the door. He says, I've been here 9 years. I've never seen one person win a case that went to trial. Now, went to trial is a key. A lot of cases are dismissed, but actually went to trial, that won his case. And he says, I'm impressed. He never expected anybody to win. He's
Most
been
people would never dream that that's a trick question. Are you a U.S. citizen?
because if Kent would have said yes or no, he potentially is going to lose his case. Because if you say no, they'll say prove it. You can't prove it. They make you look terrible in front of a jury. If he said yes, see, then they got the contractual nexus because U.S. citizenship is contract with the United States. If you're a U.S. citizen, you are subject to obey all written congressional law. Okay? Contractually. Not by general association, but contractually. Okay, so they don't have that now. We ended up winning our case, and the public defender came up to me and he says, I don't have a clue of why you won this case. I've never seen this ever.
They're never taught this stuff.
And I was explaining to him that they never got citizenship on the record. They also realized that if they're going to keep pushing the case, they ended up dismissing the case one day before trial. The second trial, they're going to see they didn't win the first one because one guy was actually told a smidgen of truth about their jurisdiction requirements, and he knew that they lacked an element of our being guilty. So they're going to retry us because that one guy was talked to somebody about jury nullification, and he went home. First day he voted against us. All 12 of them voted against us, and he went home, and I think the Holy Spirit worked on him. He couldn't sleep at night, and he got up the next morning. He went back to the jury and said, "No, I changed my vote." One guy out of 12 people, one guy. I think Kent and I would have absolutely got 5 years in jail. Absolutely.
So thank you, whoever you are. And if you get a chance to get on any jury, get on and just sit there quietly and vote not guilty.
Do not tell them why you shouldn't be on the jury. If God tells you not to be on the jury, don't be on the jury. But don't tell them you shouldn't be on the jury because the IRS has been abusive to you or the United States has been abusive to you. That's the very reason you should be on the jury. But we sat there and watched these people say, "Oh, I don't think I should be on the jury because I got tax issues." And blah, blah, blah. And we're sitting there like, oh my gosh, here's your opportunity to correct many wrongs. And you're going to pass. So now as far as the EIN number, it's true what Kent said. Okay, EIN number is a contract with the United States. Kent elected not to get an EIN number. He elected not to contract them. Government cannot make him contract because the U.S. Constitution says there is no forced servitude in the United States. They can't force you to be their employee. EIN number is deceptive in its title. It's actually a license to withhold. Okay, it says EIN stands for Employer Identification Number. It's kind of deceptive because it's really a license to withhold. Okay, Kent elected not to get that license. They had no legal duty to say that he was required to get that license, and they never even talked about it, right?
Right.
Never even mentioned it. His lawyer completely sold him out. All his lawyer had to do was put the IRS agent on the witness stand and say, what did Kent do? What do you have in your possession, or what do you have as evidence that Kent had a legal duty to withhold? He would have won his case. That's all.
Well, the judge, he was going down that road, and the judge stopped the trial and called my attorney up, Alan Ritchie, and said, Mr. Ritchie, I want to remind you that this IRS agent is not on trial. She said, I'm reminding you as an officer of the court that
Which is another way of saying, I can jerk your bar license anytime I want.
Exactly. It was clear threat to everybody in the classroom, and he turned from a lion to a lamb just like that. He sold me out that moment. I said, what happened here?
Because he's seen several $1 million flash in front of his eyes. That he's
I hope we have suit
lose.
for damages, and he pays me everything he stole from me by not representing me well.
Horrible.
Anyway, we got to
one real quick thing. It's true. If Kent would have withheld, he could have went to jail. If he would have withheld,
if I would have withheld and not turned it over.
No, if you would have withheld without an EIN number.
Oh, true. Yeah, I couldn't withhold.
He wasn't qualified to withhold.
Yeah.
And so if he would have done what they said, he could have been thrown in jail. He didn't do what they claim. Of course, he went to jail. 10 years. It's just insane.
I couldn't believe it.
And it happens when the federal government agents, the federal government's an entity, when federal government agents corrupt people that are kind of what I call low-life people that have worked their way up to high levels of power. When they want to destroy somebody, they do it without law, over and over and over again.
Communist countries, Hitler did it. I mean, it's common for...
Statism is demonic.
Yeah.
It's not in the Bible. Much of what the United States does is absolutely statism. God forbids it. But anyway, go ahead.
Okay, so I can simply file the right paperwork, and the judge has to look at it. As a matter of law, I could not have done what they...
We can force them to show that, as a matter of law, you did not qualify to be prosecuted by that jury. Because the judge had no authority to take him and put him in front of a jury as a matter of law, because he doesn't qualify to be judged by a jury.
So you will prepare and file paperwork, or let me file paperwork, asking this to be looked at again. And I'd like everybody to be praying, because best case scenario, the judge has to say, oh, okay, those counts 1 through 12 are thrown out, even though it's been, 14 years ago.
As a matter of law, they're thrown out.
Which then throws out all the structuring. Mm-hmm. What about the count 58, threatening an agent? They never did even push that one.
None of this would have happened if the other two weren't there.
Okay. So best case scenario is all the charges are dismissed. I'm no longer a felon.
You should get between $30 and $60 million is my guess.
Okay.
And that wouldn't be enough, because you had a flourishing ministry, and you'll never get it back. They went up on a hill and they busted this pillow of feathers, and you'll never get them back.
Yeah. So we'd like the people who love our ministry to pray and to spread the truth about what happened, and to spread this video to everybody you can think of. Say, check this out. Now, you do paralegal work for people all the time. This is how you make your living, and you are really good at it.
And the number one thing I do is I put the burden of proof on the IRS, on the IRS agent. You can't put the burden on the IRS. You got to put it on the IRS agent.
Right.
There's got to be a man in their office that is making a claim. Now, we have a man that made a claim that you were subject to that.
Right.
We're going to force him to support his claim now, which your attorney should have done.
Yeah.
Didn't.
So please pray for this. And if you'd like to support our ministry as we do this, the financial aspect of it, while we recover from all this, would be a great blessing. Do you want to give your number? How do people get hold of you, or your website or something?
Well, you can go to my website, freeinhabitant.info, freeinhabitant.info. My email is found on that website too. Just go to the About section and it'll show my contact for that month, because I travel. For example, I'm in Alabama today, and Monday I'm going to be in San Diego. I'm showing off how much I travel.
Yeah.
Sitting beside the guy that's been around the world 20 times. But anyway, I've been here for since February, and I'll be in San Diego enjoying the weather there for probably 3 or 4 months. So, but anyway, if you go to that website, you can always find the current email, phone number, and mailing address.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, folks. Please help spread the word. I just want my reputation restored. I want them to pay me what they owe me and leave me alone. I don't want to contract with them. I don't want any trouble. I just want to go preach. And so please pray. I want us to see a great victory that the Holy Spirit brings on this one. I think this would bring great glory to God if this was completely overturned. And all you atheists that keep calling me a tax cheat and a tax protester, you're either lying or you're stupid. Okay? Thank you for joining us.